Snoke was never written to be a character. He was a placeholder. The sequels needed a figure who looked like Palpatine, spoke like Palpatine, and sat on a throne like Palpatine so the audience would feel familiar with the structure. Mentor, apprentice, hero, villain. He wasn't built from history, ideology, or thematic presence. He was placed there because the writers needed a large, ominous silhouette for trailers. Someone who appeared powerful, but had no story beyond intimidation aesthetics. Snoke wasn't introduced to matter. He was introduced so the audience would assume he mattered until the trilogy revealed what it actually cared about. His lack of personal connection to the main characters proves it. Great villains are woven into the emotional fabric of the story. Vader was Luke's father. Palpatine manipulated Anakin. Maul symbolized the Sith resurgence. Snoke had none of that. He didn't know Han. He didn't know Leia. He never had history with Luke beyond. I sensed him vaguely. His only function was to hover near Kylo and say things like, "You're weak." Without ties to the core cast, he couldn't drive emotional conflict. He could only exist as a prop that generated scenes. Snoke wasn't a mastermind. He was a narrative device. His entire presence in the trilogy exists to remind Kylo that he's not good enough, strong enough, or complete enough. Snoke's lines aren't philosophical, ideological, or world-shaping. They are belittling monologues designed to poke at Kylo's insecurity. Even his throne room scene is constructed not around Snoke's power, but around Kylo's humiliation. Snoke sneers, Kylo absorbs, and the audience feels the tension building toward inevitable rebellion. Snoke never moves the story. He only irritates the character who will. Every scene Snoke appears in contributes to Kylo's internal escalation. When Snoke mocks the helmet, Kylo destroys it. When Snoke threatens Rey, Kylo chooses her. When Snoke flaunts his power, Kylo severs it. Snoke's presence functions like emotional sandpaper, grating away every layer of Kylo's identity until Kylo chooses to become something new. The writers never wanted Snoke to be the final villain. They wanted him to be the fuel that burns away Kylo's dependence. The way Snoke dies proves he wasn't essential. There's no build-up, no duel, no moral conflict. Kylo doesn't challenge him with ideology. He cuts him in half mid-sentence. This isn't an epic villain defeat. It's narrative punctuation. The line, "you assume too much," directly foreshadows the film's message. Snoke assumes he has control over Kylo, just like the audience assumes Snoke matters. The surprise is not that Kylo kills him. The surprise is that the story drops Snoke without hesitation. Snoke's death clears narrative space. As long as Snoke sits on the throne, Kylo is the apprentice, and the apprentice can only react. Removing Snoke instantly forces Kylo into agency. No more orders, no more destiny assigned by someone else, no more excuses. Kylo graduates from follower to antagonist. The trilogy stops being about defeating a master and starts being about confronting the legacy of a broken family. Snoke wasn't a villain. He was training wheels. He existed solely to give Kylo someone to push against until Kylo becomes strong enough to ride the story without outside control. Writers don't kill pivotal villains at the midpoint of the film. They kill transitional characters when the protagonist doesn't need them anymore. Snoke's death isn't subversion. It's completion of purpose. Snoke was an obstacle, not a story. His existence signaled, yes, this trilogy has a big bad you've seen before, you can relax. But once the trilogy established familiarity, it discarded him so it could tell a different narrative. Star Wars had already done chosen hero defeats Sith Master. The sequels wanted to explore generational trauma, inherited identity, and the suffocating weight of legacy. Snoke would only get in the way. His vagueness was intentional. No origin, no ideology, no motivation. Fans demanded answers, but Snoke was never built to withstand scrutiny. He wasn't designed to be explored, only to be removed. That's why his backstory fits in a single sentence in Episode 9. He was made, manipulated, and disposed of. Just like in the narrative. Snoke's throne room scene reveals the real point. Kylo and Rey are the narrative engine. The true climax isn't Snoke's death. It's Kylo extending his hand to Rey. The tension isn't about who will rule. It's about whether they will rule together. Snoke's corpse doesn't matter because he was never the emotional focus. The connection between Kylo and Rey was Snoke's removal shifts the entire trilogy from imitation to disruption. The first film imitates A New Hope. The second film disrupts it. Snoke dying in the second act signals that the trilogy isn't replaying the same story. It's attempting something no Star Wars film had done, making the broken heir the antagonist instead of the masked master. Snoke is a mirror, not a man. He reflects Kylo's insecurity, his doubt, and his lack of identity. When Kylo kills Snoke, he symbolically kills the voice telling him who he should be. He severs the chain of control. The throne room scene isn't Kylo defeating Snoke. It's Kylo defeating his own dependence. Snoke is the last illusion of the past. His presence gives the trilogy familiarity. His death gives it freedom. If Snoke lived, the sequel trilogy stays safe. When he dies, the story finally risks something. Snoke represents what Star Wars used to be. Kylo represents what Star Wars could become. Snoke didn't matter because the story was never about rebuilding the Empire. It was about breaking the Skywalker myth. You can't break legacy while hiding behind a throne-shaped distraction. Snoke was removed, not because he failed as a villain, but because he succeeded as a narrative stepping stone. He mattered only long enough to reveal he never mattered at all. Kylo Ren is the only character in the sequels whose arc spans identity, ideology, conflict, collapse, and redemption. Rey, Finn, and Poe all begin the trilogy searching for themselves. Kylo begins knowing exactly who he is, then spends 3 films tearing that identity apart. He moves from heir to villain to leader to lost child to redeemed man. No one else transforms. No one else evolves. Kylo is the only one with a beginning, middle, fall, and conclusion. Kylo's story is uniquely internal. Every decision he makes is driven by emotion, not strategy. Vader wanted to control the future. Kylo wants to destroy the past. Vader's arc was about falling into darkness. Kylo's arc is about crawling out of it. He doesn't want to rule the galaxy. He wants to silence the pain of legacy. That makes him the first Star Wars antagonist whose war is waged inside his own identity. The trilogy frames Kylo as Rey's emotional opposite. Rey is defined by searching for belonging, history, purpose. Kylo is defined by rejecting lineage, destiny, expectation. She wants to know where she comes from. He wants to escape where he comes from. Their stories intersect not because of prophecy, but because of need. He forces Rey to confront darkness. She forces Kylo to confront vulnerability. Rey doesn't grow through Snoke. She grows through Kylo. Every defining moment she has, resisting the dark cave, confronting her fear, discovering her power, happens in relation to Kylo. Snoke tries to manipulate Rey. Kylo tries to understand her. Snoke demands obedience. Kylo offers partnership. Snoke sees Rey as an asset. Kylo sees Rey as a mirror. Their connection is the emotional core of the trilogy. Kylo is the emotional center of every legacy character. Han confronts him. Leia reaches for him. Luke regrets him. Every original trilogy hero's final significant action revolves around Kylo. Han gives his life trying to pull him back. Luke sacrifices himself to reach him across the galaxy. Leia gives her final breath to call him home. The Skywalker story ends with all of them choosing to believe in him. Kylo embodies the consequences of legacy. He is not a villain because of ideology. He is a villain because he believes he must be. The galaxy tells him he will become Vader. Luke fears he will become Vader. Snoke demands he become Vader. Kylo becomes what everyone expects because no one gives him space to be anything else. He isn't the monster by nature. He is the monster by narrative pressure. Kylo's the subversion of the Chosen One archetype. Every Chosen One story shows someone rising to meet destiny. Kylo's story is about someone suffocating under destiny. He rejects prophecy, rejects lineage, rejects expectation. The sequels flip the trope upside down. What if destiny is not empowering but imprisoning? What if the Chosen One doesn't want to be chosen at all? Kylo's internal conflict gives the trilogy emotional unpredictability. Villains who crave power are predictable. They will always choose domination. Kylo doesn't want power, he wants identity. That makes him dangerous. If he can't find meaning through legacy, he'll burn legacy down. His unpredictability drives more tension than any fleet, weapon, or Sith threat could. He is the only Skywalker who confronts generational trauma. Instead of inheriting the legend, he inherits the burden of failure. He carries Anakin's anger, Leia's expectations, Luke's fear. He is what happens when every generation avoids their pain instead of healing it. Kylo breaks because every character before him refused to. Kylo makes choices that alter the trilogy's direction. When he kills Snoke, he changes the structure of the story. When he refuses to shoot Leia, he shifts his arc. When he throws away his lightsaber, he rejects destiny. Every choice ripples outward. Every choice matters. He isn't reacting to the plot. The plot is reacting to him. Rey doesn't redeem Kylo. Ben redeems himself. The final battle isn't against Palpatine. It's against Kylo's own self-hatred. Leia reaches him. Han forgives him. Rey sees him. But Ben is the one who accepts it. Redemption isn't granted to him. He chooses it. He ends the Skywalker bloodline not through destruction, but through transformation. Kylo is the soul of the sequel trilogy because he gives it emotional consequence. When Rey wins, she does not celebrate. She mourns Ben. When Kylo dies, the Skywalker story ends. When Ben Solo rises, the tragedy of the Skywalkers finally heals. No fleet explosion can compete with that emotional weight. The sequel trilogy doesn't end with a victory. It ends with closure. The Skywalker saga began with a boy taken from slavery and ends with a man freed from legacy. The story does not conclude with the defeat of Snoke or Palpatine. It concludes when Ben Solo stops running, stops destroying, and finally chooses peace. He is not the villain of Star Wars. He is the final chapter. Kylo was the story because he was the only character whose fate could end the saga. Rey begins a journey. Finn finds purpose. Poe becomes a leader. But Kylo ends a bloodline. The Skywalker saga doesn't conclude with Snoke's defeat. It concludes with Ben Solo finally choosing to stop the cycle of pain.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.